This is a new advancement in technology, and I think it's important that deepfake don't become a red herring for the real problem, which is disinformation. Right?
You know, we've had fake content forever. I mean, it's, you know, maybe it started off with written and then obviously photographs. And there's a big hoo-ha at the moment around deepfake video, but is it really any different? I mean, it's just a question of people getting used to the fact that, yeah, you can now potentially fake this stuff. But, you know, that's, you know, the outrage at the moment, but maybe in a couple of years' time, it'll just be, well, of course you can, you know, but actually the real ramifications going forward are, you know, with when Photoshop, et cetera, came along, you could obviously then really easily fake up photographs, but that wasn't the ongoing story. The ongoing story is now that any of us can create beautiful images using, you know, Photoshop, et cetera. I mean, is that how you see it, or how do you view this?
I mean, I think I obviously don't know what's going to happen in the future, right? But I think the allure of the deepfake story is that it's a very, very visual thing for people. And I think we live in a world already where sort of creating a big spectacle around things creates clicks and creates views. I think that's definitely a part of it. I think there's also a very real thing to this story, that this will be a new tool for people who wants to spread disinformation, whether it be in political campaigns or to defraud people, whatever, right? And I think that's a very real problem, like 100%, that we need to prepare for. And even if we don't know how big that problem is going to be on the scale of 0 to 100, we should do everything we can to prepare for the worst case scenario. That's kind of my view on it, right? And there's lots of good companies who are working specifically on technology that can detect these kind of things. We're also involved in some of those efforts. But I think if you zoom out a little bit, right, as you mentioned yourself, this is a new advancement in technology. And I think it's important that deepfake don't become a red herring for the real problem, which is disinformation, right?
Yes.
Overall problem of disinformation is and kind of a subset of that is deepfakes.
Yeah.
So if you look at it today, around 10% of all disinformation is image or video editing.
Right.
And in that sense, that means like Photoshop or iMovie, right?
Yeah.
Like you slow down a video clip, you take out certain segments of video, cut it in different ways so that it looks like someone is saying something they didn't say. So that sort of very basic method of editing and creating fake material is only 10% today. There's also a big gap, I think, between how the media sort of portrays these technologies in terms of like how easy it is. The story right now is literally like, go on a website, click on a big red button, and you'll get a Trump speech where he says something completely different, right? That's not the case today. We still have some years to prepare for that actually happen. Like we couldn't do that, right? We still have a problem with the voice, body language not matching what you're saying. Like there's lots of things when you dig into the details, which is kind of missed out. But I think, you know, overall, I think technology goes through these phases all the time. When Napster, LimeWire, Kansar, which was like when I was a young guy came out, people were like, you know, no one is going to create music in the future. And it turned out that actually evolved into Spotify and, you know, iTunes, all sort of things. When I was a kid, computer games was going to make all of us into serial killers. That also didn't happen. So I think it's always, there's definitely like a foundation of truth in it. And we have to prepare for the worst case scenario. But yes, I think this is an advancement in terms of media editing. And I think by far most of the use cases of these technologies will be good, but there certainly will be people who try to use it for bad stuff.
So let's say, so you have, and I think this is a much nicer way of thinking about it, is, you know, use this term synthetic media. And I don't know if that's something you coined or whether it's a general industry. Do you want to explain what, just going right back to the beginning, you know, what do you mean by synthetic media? Yeah.
So I think the definition of that is like, is lots of people talking about it. I would say that it is media content that has been either fully or partially created by an AI system. So the difference is that in sort of more traditional production of media assets, it's a human that does the work, right? Which means that it's generally very expensive. What we are doing, for example, is really visual effects. It's the kind of things they've been doing in Hollywood for the last 10 years. The big difference is that we can translate a corporate training video for, you know, $1,000, whereas doing that in a Hollywood studio would cost you $2 million, something like that. So it's like, it's the scale accessibility that has changed. That's because AI is in the loop. So synthetic media to me is things like we do, AI video editing, it's synthetic voices, it's all these things that have some kind of AI element to it. And that just makes it more accessible to create content.
And so do you think that that's really essentially going to become part of the toolkit then that, you know, is available to an editor? And so essentially, an editor right now is doing a lot of that stuff, but really there's two parts to say. If you just take an editor as an example, there's two parts to their job. Some of it is the creative vision side of it, if you like, the what they see as the outcome, and the other part is the technical skill to have that happen. And so is AI's position or place really right now trying to take part of that technical skill element away so they can focus more on the creative vision, or do you think ultimately it's going to be the whole lot?
Yeah, no. I think the creative vision is still going to be important for a very, 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 very long time.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't see a future in any time in the near future where computers going to be able to do that.
Yeah.
Really what this enables is just getting you faster from idea to finalized product, right? Mm-hmm. So what this means like concretely is today, for example, even if you want to shoot something like a very simple advertisement, someone just speaking to the camera, you need to write a script, you need to get a studio, you need to get actors, you need to get videographers, sound guys, post-production, then you have your result. What these technologies will be able to do is rather than having all of these physical processes, we can replace some of them with digital processes that just makes it easier and takes the time and cost maybe down by a factor of 10 or 100. Mm-hmm. So if you wanted to do an advertisement, to give you a real example of that, I think that in 3 or 4 years, let's say you shoot something, and then once you have your kind of main asset, you can edit it with these synthetic media tools. So let's say you want to see what does this advertisement look like if it's raining, or if it's sunny, or if it's snowing, or if we switch out the t-shirt with a red t-shirt instead of a black t-shirt, or we change the script from saying, I don't know, whatever way you want to frame the product. So it's going to be a much more creative and iterative process where you can then see what does all these 100 videos look like that we've now easily created through these synthetic media tools. Let's pick the one that's the best. Whereas today it's kind of opposite, right? You sit for weeks or months and you scope out exactly what should it look like, what should the actor be wearing, what should the weather be look like. And it's a very elaborate process where you have one shot on the day that you're shooting it to get it right. And I think that's just going to change. I think it's going to be more like you shoot something and then in the post you can change all these different aspects of the
commercial. That whole idea of we'll fix it in post literally becomes you can actually make the entire thing in post. Just go and shoot the bait. So long as you've shot it in the right way, you can do whatever you want post event.